calling all Omen fans. No, not this Omen. I'm talking about this brand new laptop by HP, the Omen 16. Now, what is interesting about this exact model is that it comes with what they call an AMD Advantage, which means that both the CPU and GPU are made by AMD. Now, my question is, will this laptop be able to live up to its 144Hz screen, or is this AMD Advantage actually an AMD disadvantage? Well, let's check it out. So last year in 2020, HP released the Omen 15 gaming laptop, which was a pretty well received entry-level gaming laptop. This year, along with a new Omen 15, we also get a new 16-inch variant, and like I said, this is the model with the AMD Advantage. Basically, back in June 2021, AMD announced their AMD Advantage gaming laptops that are designed in partnership with OEMs to ensure a certain level of reliability and performance. These laptops would be equipped with the AMD Ryzen 5000 series processors as well as the AMD Radeon RX 6000 series graphics cards for both gaming and content creation. Now, this HP Omen 16 is one of those products, and it is also made for entry-level gamers who seek a good bang for their buck. Our review unit is priced at 6,639 ringgit, which a lot of you guys are going to complain that it's not very entry-level. However, bear in mind that this is a gaming-centric laptop with features that gamers will find very useful, like 144Hz and stuff like that. If you want something cheaper, then just get a 60Hz screen and something that's 2,000-3,000 ringgit lah. Anyways, this model comes with the Ryzen 7 5800H that has 8 cores and 16 threads and a max boost clock of 4.4 GHz and also 16 MB of L3 cache. In terms of GPU, what we get here is the RX 6600M, the mobile version with 8 GB of GDDR6 VRAM. And we also get 16 GB of RAM that is rated at 3200 MHz, 1 TB of M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD, and in terms of network connectivity, we have Wi-Fi 6 as well as Bluetooth 5.2 and also an integrated GBE LAN port. Overall, these are some pretty beefy specs for the price, and I could see this being useful for both gaming and content creation. However, we all know that some editing software like Premiere Pro does prefer CUDA from NVIDIA, so we'll have to see how it performs in the benchmarks. Now let's take a look at the aesthetics. The external chassis here is made of mostly plastic in a matte grey finish that feels quite nice to the touch without attracting too many fingerprints. At the back, we also get this reflective blue gradient diamond-shaped logo from Omen that looks pretty cool. Overall, I'm quite a big fan of this more understated gaming laptop look from HP that looks quite sleek with all these sharp edges. Taking a closer look, we'll see that the keycaps are made of a post-consumer recycled plastic, like most of HP's new laptops. I'm quite a big fan of this blocky font because it looks quite unique compared to other options out there. In terms of build quality, I would say that it is sufficiently good. The hinges on this laptop are pretty smooth, as you can see, but a little bit wobbly, given the fact that they are quite small relative to the size of the screen. There's also a little bit of flex on the keyboard deck, nothing too crazy, but it is there. But like I mentioned before, it is still sufficiently good. One tiny detail that you might or might not notice is that around the bezel of the screen, there's a thin strip of plastic as well as 2 rubber pads on the sides of the keyboard that is there to prevent the screen from making direct contact with the keyboard. This could be a solution to a tiny design flaw in last year's Omen 15, as mentioned by Dave from Dave2D. I'm a big fan. So kudos to HP for actually listening to consumer feedback. In terms of dimensions, this laptop is 369.2mm long, 248mm wide, and 23mm thick. It also only weighs 2.32 kilograms. That is quite reasonable for a laptop with these specs. When it comes to the display, this laptop comes with a 16.1-inch 1080p IPS panel in a matte finish as well as a 16:9 aspect ratio and 144Hz refresh rate. I believe there is an option to upgrade to a 165Hz QHD screen, but I don't think that it's available in Malaysia at this moment. In terms of screen brightness, it is marketed to go up to 300 nits, and while I don't really have the right tools to properly test it, having seen quite a few monitors with these specs, I can tell that it just might be slightly under what was advertised. A little bit underwhelming, to be honest. In terms of color accuracy, things are actually not too bad. The screen does cover 99% of the sRGB range as well as 76% of DCI-P3. However, even after calibration, we could not get the average delta E to be lower than 2.0, which is the required standard for color accurate work. But it did get pretty close though. Out of the box, it was more like a 3-ish, which is again not too bad. There are not a lot of reviews on this exact laptop with these exact specs out there. One of them is by Eber from Hardware Canucks, who had a way worse experience with the screen on his unit. His Omen 16 also had a smaller 70 watt-hour battery, so based on my own speculation, what he received could have been a pre-production model before it hit the shelves. For those who are a fan of RGB, you'll be happy to know that the keyboard has RGB backlighting, which you can customize in the Omen Command Hub. It's basically split into 4 zones, and the WASD keys get their own zone. So it's pretty good for FPS gamers who want to add a few more FPS, frames per second, with RGB, because we all know that RGB can add FPS. At the bottom right, you get full-size arrow keys, as well as some special command keys at the top, which includes the Omen Command Hub button shortcut, as well as calculator, which every agent needs. It's pretty thoughtful and all, but do you know what would be even better? A numpad, which a lot of people would definitely appreciate. Leave a comment down below if you're one of those people who use your numpad every day. Anyways, in terms of typing, the keys feel very tactile and crispy. Overall, I think it's a pretty good keyboard for a laptop this size. So here's a quick sound test for your reference. Another touchy subject that we need to talk about is, well, the touchpad or trackpad that is huge, as you can see, compared to my face. It is made of plastic and isn't super smooth, but still decently accurate. So this is how the webcam looks and sounds like. Oh, the misery. Everybody wants to be my enemy. Spare the sympathy. Everybody wants to be my enemy. In terms of audio, we get a pair of downward firing speakers that are tuned by Bang & Olufsen, and to be honest, they are just, well, okay. It doesn't get too loud with a lack of bass, though the mids and treble are pretty clear. I find it good enough to watch movies or videos on YouTube, but if you want a game on this laptop, I'd recommend headphones, since the soundstage and imaging is pretty meh. Here's a sound test of the speakers. In terms of I/O ports, this laptop is actually pretty complete. On the left, you get the AC Smart Pin charger port, the RJ45 Ethernet port, one USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A port, a mini display port, a HDMI 2.1 port, one Type-C USB 3.2 Gen 2 port with DisplayPort 1.4 and power delivery support, an audio jack, and a full-size SD card reader, although it only supports UHS 1 speeds. On the right, you get a couple of USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A ports. In terms of battery, with this laptop, you get an 83 watt-hour lithium-ion polymer battery that is pretty okay, nothing too crazy, and should be okay for day-to-day use. Moving on to the thermal design, you'll see that this Omen 16 has a similar design as the Omen 15 with what they call the Omen Tempest cooling technology. What we get here is 2 fans pulling in cool air from the bottom and 3 exhaust vents, 2 at the back and 1 on the right side. Though during our stress test, the CPU temp did reach 95 Celsius, that is probably unrealistic in day-to-day use. The keyboard deck did not feel uncomfortably hot even at those temperatures, but the vent on the right side does put out quite a bit of heat, so your mouse hand might feel it. Gamers, please keep that in mind. In terms of accessories, when you buy this laptop, you're not going to get anything extra, just the power brick, which is a 230 watt smart AC power adapter. You also get a 2-year warranty under HP, terms and conditions apply. Now let's take a look at the numbers. Firstly, we have synthetic benchmarks. Cinebench and 7-zip pretty much shows us that this laptop will perform similar to other laptops with the same processor. Next, we have 3D Mark. TimeSpy graphics performance seems a little low, but I'm still seeing good results in Firestrike that gets close to some of the laptops with a RTX 3070. Gaming numbers in 1080p is where this laptop actually impressed me. We're getting a playable 54 frames per second with ray tracing on in Shadow of Tomb Raider, which is interesting because ray tracing is usually reserved for the green team. We even got a playable 55 frames per second in Cyberpunk 2077 on Ultra, with 63 frames per second when you bump down the settings to high. Again, in Doom Eternal and Valorant, we are seeing close or sometimes better than RTX 3070 numbers. That's insane. Overall, gaming performance for this laptop is definitely a win for AMD because laptops with the RTX 3070 tend to cost a little bit more. Finally, we have productivity benchmarks. We're seeing a little less impressive numbers, but don't get me wrong, they are actually still quite decent, falling behind laptops with the RTX 3070 by maybe 10 to 15% depending on the task, since some software do prefer CUDA over OpenCL. But I still think that this laptop is pretty good value for content creators who also game on their laptops. Oh yeah, this laptop doesn't get too loud unless you're running super heavy workloads on it for a prolonged period of time, like we did while stress testing Ada 64. In normal use for gaming, it was actually relatively quiet. To recap, here are the pros, mas and cons of the HP Omen 16. I give this laptop a pretty good bang for your buck, hashtag cheap buy, 8 out of 10. To be honest, it's really good to see a manufacturer like HP give their affordable gaming laptops a level up in terms of build quality as well as specs. It looks quite nice, it's pretty powerful for 1080p gaming, as well as a decent screen and okay speakers. A pretty good value for your money provided that you can deal with the not very bright screen as well as the lack of CUDA support for content creation. The laptop is by no means perfect, but I wouldn't have an issue recommending it for someone who have a 6,000 to 7,000 ringgit to spend. And that's everything I have to say about the HP Omen 16. If you thought this video is awesome, don't forget to like and share. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions regarding this laptop and I'll try my best to reply to you. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on more content like this. And also follow us on Facebook and Instagram to see more shenanigans from the Mob House crew. And I will see you in the next one.